Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mahoning Matters, our weekly news show. I'm editor Chris Pugh. I've got longtime journalist Guy Vogrin with me, and we've got a special guest, Angie Day. She's the assistant principal for an online learning school in Ohio. Angie, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Fantastic. Angie's the assistant principal at the Ohio Digital Learning School. You guys serve, you're based in Maumee, but you serve kids all over the state. You have about 50 kids in the Mahoning Valley area. How have things been going on for you? How long have you guys been around for?
So we are going into our sixth year as a school, and things are going great. We are just expanding every year, graduating more and more students every semester. We have enough students that graduate in the first semester that we hold a January graduation in addition to our June graduation. So just this past year, we graduated about 500 students, and we averaged about 1,100 students at our school enrolled at a time. So that's doing pretty good, and we really love what we do and the students that we're able to reach.
You guys
What's a
are
basic, excuse us, what's a basic day look like for a student online going to a digital school?
So it differs depending on which school you're looking at. At
Mhm.
Ohio Digital, we follow a bell schedule similar to what you would have in a traditional high school. So students have live classes with their teachers 4 or 5 times a day. And then they also have access to recordings or asynchronous work in the online course. Um, so students who work during the day or aren't available during their scheduled live sessions are able to still get all of the interactions that they would typically have from a teacher, getting
And it
feedback and
and
videos and
is
all
there
of.
like tutoring or homework assistance available?
So our teachers have 2 hours every day that they're available to help students individually one-on-one. So yeah, they're
Okay.
able to get all the help they need.
Yeah, I've worked with online digital learning schools in the past here in Ohio. What type of students do you hope to reach out to? I mean, like online, I'm sure works for some kids, may not work for other kids. If I'm a parent out there and said, hey, like, what should, why should I consider online school? Like, what kid would that work best for that you guys would reach out to?
So what we found is after the COVID shutdown, a lot of students discovered that working online really worked in their favor. What we do is a lot more structured than what a lot of the traditional settings did during that time period. But still, students found that they were able to interact from the comfort of their own homes. They were able to work around their schedules, and that really worked well for them. As you're saying, though, it's not perfect for everyone. Uh, we do find that some students come and it's just not for them. And we want to work with those students to make sure they're in the platform that's best for their situations individually. Um, but we cater a lot to students who work full time and then are still attending school, have medical issues, have children of their own that they just can't leave during the day. And so they're able to take care of all of those personal issues while they're still getting their full time education.
Very good. What's your biggest challenge moving forward? Would you say?
Growth,
Okay.
honestly. We are expanding every day.
Hmm.
We have rolling enrollment, and sometimes we have groups of 500 students coming in at one time. And so just making sure that we are growing, but growing at a rate that we're still able to give that personalized attention, that's something that we value. And we work really hard to make sure that we're not expanding faster than we're able to keep up with, but still able to give as many people as possible the
Now,
opportunity.
how do you go about marketing and reaching the potential students in the Mahoning Valley, for instance?
A lot of it is word of mouth. We find that a lot of students come to us because they've heard about it from another student who's been enrolled. We also have um, situations like this, which work really well to get the name of our school out. And, we have our social media platforms that we work with as well to make sure that people are hearing our name as well as some of the other schools that are available.
Awesome. How do we get in touch with you? So, if we want to find out more information, what's the best way? Do we call you, email? What's the best way we can contact you guys?
So we have a website. It's odls.k12.com, and you can access our enrollment through that website, as well as looking a little bit deeper into what types of courses we offer and getting to know our school a little bit more as well.
Fantastic. What's when does your school run all throughout the year? Yeah, are you in a summer break right now? When does your next school session start?
We are on a summer break right now. We have a traditional school schedule, so students get the winter and summer off. We are back in session on August 19th.
August 19th.
Okay,
Well,
it's pretty much an 180-day in session kind of deal, right?
Yes. Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
Well, fantastic. Well, Angie, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and everything. And again, check out her school. Good online school. Definitely, people learn different ways, and your school's out there to reach the people that it needs to. So, we'll share a link and your contact information. Angie, thank you so much for your time and your patience today. Have a great day.
Enjoy your
Thank you for
summer.
having. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Angie Day. There, and we appreciate your time. Guy, it's interesting. I served some time in public relations during my journalism career, and worked for an online school. And you know, everyone learns a little bit differently. And when I worked for the
Right.
online school, it was before COVID, but people learn differently, and there's options out there. And I know even
Right.
for some of our existing public schools, they're looking at different ways of educating people. So if it's through
And
an
maybe
online,
for parents that are a little bit shy of homeschooling their kids, this may be a kind of a transition kind of deal, getting it out of the actual traditional classroom and getting in home for learning.
yeah, definitely, definitely. You just want to look up options and see what's the best thing out there for kids. Let's talk quickly about some of the other issues that are going on. Kind of some breaking news today. Tim McGraw, he was our big wide live concert person that was coming into town. They postponed the concert. They said there were some logistical issues. They also said just kind of the aftermath of the explosion. Yeah,
Wow.
it's kind of made things a little bit different. And I know kind of big news. I understand why they're doing it. Still kind of tough news. And I think that
Right.
we're seeing that, this definitely has an impact on the local economy. I don't know, Guy. I mean, is
This
this
this is the second major event that's scheduled this summer for downtown. It's been canceled basically because of the aftermath of the explosion. The first one was the Italian Fest, scheduled for late July, and now Tim McGraw on August 2nd. So I'm wondering if city officials are concerned about this becoming chronic, that people will have fears about going downtown and really affecting the economy down there.
Yeah, and I guess the question is, I mean, what do we do? I think we understand why these things happen. We understand what's going on right now with that stuff, but I think there's a big concern. I mean, how do we solve this? You think?
Yeah, and it was wondering if if it was the Tim McGraw people that initiated the questions, maybe because last I heard, I thought all systems were go. Ween Park was safe from any buildings falling down around them, but maybe just the fact that big crowds coming to downtown is kind of creating a little uneasiness. I know, a couple of relatives have had bought tickets to the event, and it hadn't deterred anyone. And I don't think sales were down for this concert, which is usually the top ticket of the summer for concerts in the area.
Well, and I think the big thing that people are mindful of is, this isn't super close to where the explosion happened. I think there might be just more of a logistical issue about how to get people in and out
Parking,
downtown. Yeah,
right?
and that stuff too. I mean, thankfully, the concert, like Green Park, isn't right by where the explosion happened, but
Yeah,
I think there's a little bit of concerns there. I wonder though too. I hate to compare this to what happened with 9/11. Obviously, it was a lot different. It was almost like comparing apples to oranges. But I think part of what you need to do is get the city back to a sense of normalcy.
right,
And I
right.
know it's easier said than done. I know it doesn't happen right away, but I think that's the thing that I'm really concerned about
And
right now.
it will need an event like a Tim McGraw concert to get the city past this place of uneasiness, let's call it, about,
Right.
safety issues.
And this just happened. This happened recently. This didn't. You know,
Right. And with this week being, chopped up because of the holiday, city officials may not be around to comment. So it may be, next week till we hear
right.
what basically is the reaction to all of this.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think that's the big thing to remember. So, and again, the city credited Tim McGraw's people. They rescheduled for 2025. You have time to refund your tickets. You're like, hey, I may not be around. The date in 2025 may not work. I like I said, Guy, it's too soon after the concert got canceled, so we don't know exactly what's going on. But I think we need a sense of getting back to a sense of normalcy. And
Right.
we've had events downtown. They
And
had
maybe,
nice,
city officials can schedule something that, can bring this community back together and, make everybody feel comfortable about going downtown.
yeah. And I think that's the thing that kind of really concerns me right now with
Right.
everything else. How do we get us back to a sense of normalcy? I know that they're still trying to figure out what's going on. There was a report in the Vindicator today talking about, the owners of the Realty building. They still own the building. I know July 5th is their deadline. From everything they said in the public, they said, hey, it just makes sense for us to tear it down. And from what the Vindicator report today, I think they're hoping to have it torn down by August. I know on Friday, there's a Save the Realty Building rally going on. I know we still have some unknown questions about what's happening there. Um, you know, the big question, man, is how do we move forward? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think we're recording this on July 3rd. We plan on having this out by July 5th. I know there's some unanswered questions. I know there's some things that we still got to figure out that we don't know on July 3rd. That hopefully we'll know maybe July 5th or July 10th or the situation. But what troubles me is just like, let's get regular events back and let's figure out how to move ahead. And I'll give the city officials credit. That's why Mayor Brown stood in front of a press conference a week ago and said, "Hey, this is kind of holding a lot of people hostage downtown. Let's move forward."
Right.
And I think we're in that process of moving forward. I think the hard thing right now is there's a lot of big name events going on, and I think there's uncertainty saying, "Hey, can these events make the money they would need to make?" I mean, bring in somebody like Tim McGraw. That's a
Right.
high paid talent. I mean, you're not, just hiring your local band to come play.
Right.
And I think they want to make sure they can make money, which again, as a business, they have the right to do that. And it's just more of a question of, how best we move forward in this situation.
Maybe what's needed is the downtown merchants and the other area attractions like, the Powers Auditorium, the Cavelli Center, the Penguin Brewery, Penguin City Brewery. They can get together, schedule an event to get everybody downtown for something.
Yeah. Yeah, and and I could see official maybe saying, "Hey, it's not as easy as you guys say it is." Well, how do we work together to do something in town? And again, being the media, we don't just want to sit and criticize. It's more of how can we work together? How could even we partner with the city to come up with something? I mean, we're open
Right,
to something like that. And again, I think the awkward thing about this is we're in that unknown time. And being the media and being people that want to try to get the truth out there, it's so much easier to say, hey, this definitely is happening. This definitely isn't happening. And it gets frustrating when sometimes we have more questions than answers. We're trying to get these questions answered, but this is, guy. It's the uncertain time. It's like
right, right,
the first couple of days of COVID. We had no idea what was going on with COVID.
right,
We learned
right,
more as time went on. So we hope in the next few weeks, not just for us in the media on how we report it, but for the city too. Let's try and get some of these questions answered, and let's try to move forward. Like I told you in the past, I know there's an outcry, and there were some people even responding to our podcast when we talked about the realty building, saying we love the realty building. It would be great to save it. And as I said a few weeks ago, I don't think we're pushing for it to go away or anything. I think both of us realize the toughness of being able to save it. And hey, if
right,
there's a enterprising smart person downtown that can figure it out,
right.
go for it. I mean, we
And
will.
maybe the cost of shoring it up may be too prohibitive, and to level it and start over again would be a something, or else sell it to another investor to put something better there. I mean, that's the thing. And like you said, this uncertainty will remain, and but the thing is, the confidence in downtown has to return, and canceling concerts is not the way to do it.
Yeah, but to give them credit, and again, we don't have official full length statement on what's happening, but to give them credit, I think there's concern that in terms of the money that can be made and making sure they can cover their costs.
Right,
Because
right. That could be an economic thing, and say that. I mean, and that's the one thing that the PR people when we say this is not because of fear of safety of going downtown. It's the fact that maybe the ticket sales were falling behind, and we don't know if we're going to cover our costs. The logistics of maybe staying away from the central square area, and it may hazard traffic with that many people. Expected, 20 to 30,000 people to the concert getting into that downtown area because, Central Square, like its name, is centrally located. So you'd have to go by there to get to the venue. So that
yeah,
may be it.
and I'm
But
seeing
we
a
don't
quote.
have these answers right now.
Well, we have a Joan quote, and let me share that. Jack Management Corp made a quote. Jack CEO Eric Ryan, this is as reported in WKBN. There was a quote that said, Wildlife has always been about showcasing all of the amenities our downtown has to offer. Striving for the absolute best experience for the fans, downtown businesses, and artists alike has always been at the forefront of our mission. We have decided that postponing the event until next year is the best scenario for all involved. And that's according to Jack CEO Eric Ryan, who's reported to WKBN. Um, I think you make an argument both sides of this. Yeah, I think whenever you have an event downtown, think about Columbus or Cleveland or Cincinnati. Sometimes if you sit there and say, hey, the All-Star game's here one night, you say, okay, everyone's going to turn the lights on. We're going to showcase the restaurants downtown and everything. That is a thought that a lot of cities have. So there's a lot of truth and relevance to what Eric is saying. There might be a question saying, no, yeah, we want to spotlight the best of the city, but can we spotlight and say, hey, this city is still moving forward?
Right.
I think there's two ways of looking at it. And to Eric's credit, I mean, you can make an argument both ways on that. You might want to sit there and say, we want to showcase the best of our city. We're not quite
Right.
there at this present moment. So can we wait until we have everything firmed up? I mean,
And
it's
maybe if it's the 1st of September, I understand there'd be competition with the Canfield Fair, but maybe mid-September have some kind of event down there. It Of course it can't include Tim McGraw this year because of
yeah.
his schedule, but maybe somebody else coming in,
Well,
or just
well,
have local talent come down there
right.
for a nice concert.
Well, I think the tough thing is with wildlife and the Jack, and what's always been showcase. I mean, you've had a really big name act. Kid Rock last year.
Right,
You've
right.
had country stars in the past and everything. And maybe they were sitting there and saying, hey, we bring other people down throughout the year. But this time, let's showcase and make sure we have that in mind.
And it doesn't mean have to be something about the name of the concert, but the event itself needs to be showcased. If you
Well,
see what I'm saying,
no,
for downtown.
yeah, no, I definitely agree with what you're saying. I think, to me, and again, I'm not speaking for Jack on this. This is kind of how Chris Pugh's looking at it. Youngstown sometimes gets a lot of older rock stars. Like last night, the Beach Boys were in town and everything.
Right.
Stars that may not be grade A now, like they may have been in the past. And I think this wide live, one of the allures for it is, maybe Tim McGraw's not at Taylor Swift level right now, but Tim McGraw is probably a lot better name than you normally see in Youngstown. So you showcase that. And see, here's the other thing, too. And some of our readers who've talked about what we said in the last week's podcast, you have to walk a fine line if you're a business in downtown. If I'm investing money in Youngstown, I want the best. I want to bring my best foot forward. I want the best business to go downtown. But then on the other hand, I got to look at it too and say, I need to make money and make sure I can afford to be here, making sure I'm putting my best foot forward. So I think when you look at things like this Tim McGraw concert and the other stuff too, you've got two competing purposes here. You're sitting here saying, we're bringing this great event to Youngstown. We want to showcase Youngstown. Yay, Youngstown. If we succeed, Youngstown succeeds. Let's both succeed together. But at the same time, too, in the back of their minds, they got to say, hey, man, we invested this much money to bring Tim McGraw down. We got to make sure we're meeting our costs. So how do you do that? You know what I mean? And I think that's the thing they're struggling with right now.
Right. Okay. Well, speaking of uncertainty, we have the Democratic presidential campaign has been thrown into a tiz because of the results of last week's debate. I saw this morning on CNN our former Congressman Tim Ryan making a few comments about what happens next. He was pretty non-committal about either Biden or a potential candidacy of a vice president, Kamala Harris, but he was there speaking as a source for the Democrats, which can be good for Tim's future political aspirations, I think.
Yeah, and boy, I don't know what to say about that. I looked at that debate, and maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was kind of surprised. I think when you look at both candidates, we heard the questions about Joe Biden. Joe Biden's getting a little older. There were questions saying, where is he at? I know we covered his trip in the East Palestine over a couple months ago, and there were some questions even that week saying, is he there? Can he serve? From what we observed there, he's an older guy. I don't think there was anything he did there that made you think, oh my goodness, he can't serve as president. But he's an older man. He's over 80.
Right.
And we don't have a restriction on ages right now. I think there should be. I think a lot of people in America would agree with me that there should be. But we've got to play with the field that we have right now. There hasn't been that restriction right now. I mean, you could be 150 and run for president if you really want to. What bothers me, Guy, is on one side, you got a guy that's older. You've got someone that even the Democratic Party have raised some questions about. And you've heard that over the past week since the debate. On the other side, with Republicans, with Donald Trump, I know the official party line, the line of Trump is saying, hey, these investigations are unfair. They're targeting me. This isn't good. But you still got charged and you still got convicted. Here's the question I have for you, Guy. We have a guy that we're trying to figure out, is he ready to be president? Can he serve properly with Biden? And then you've got a guy that, even if you don't believe in the conviction, he got convicted. You know what I mean? We've never
Right.
seen a president being, or a
And
former
in many
president being
places,
convicted.
convicted felons cannot run for public office.
Right. And, now we're getting a lot more, I think this immunity court decision, this doesn't there's a limit on the immunity that President Trump can go for, but he still has some more immunity than he had in the past. That sends a big monkey wrench in everything. And I don't think we're being fair to the American people, either the
No, we're
Republicans
not.
or the Democrats. Um,
This
it
more than ever looks like the future of who our next president is going to be is being taken out of the hands of the electorate, kind of here.
and if you look at like the Republican side, okay, if you're a fan of Trump, you're going to fully buy into the, hey, it was a witch hunt, they convicted me, whatever. But if you're a undecided voter, or if you're a voter who could go either way, how does this help when your candidate is convicted?
Right. I mean,
And
there's flaws on either side, and the choice
right.
is not the best for the American public. You talked about, downtown, what is going to be the best for Youngstown, downtown Youngstown. As America as a whole, the future of America, we don't have the best involved here.
Well, and the thing that bothers me about the whole Biden situation, and again, make your judgments. I've heard people say, "Look, he had a bad night." I'm getting older. Sometimes when I'm up at 11 p.m., I kind of sound goofy and things like that. So I totally get it. But you're sitting here like you're not putting your best foot forward either way
Right.
at all. And the question I have is, I think some Democrats are questioning to say, "Hey, was some of this? Did we not know the whole story about where Biden's really at right now?"
Right.
I
And
think,
the news is coming out, dripping out that, this wasn't the first time Biden was acting like this. And, his handlers have been, prepping him. And, he hasn't had a off the cuff moment with the media in a long time. His speeches are scripted. He knows what questions are coming. And even this upcoming interview with George Stephanopoulos, there's questions about, whether it's going to be pre-recorded and it's not going to be just live and off the cuff like any politician would be submitted to.
well, and we've
The
talked about,
stagecraft is really getting people unnerved, I think.
and we've talked about this before, and I think we need to talk about it again. Can't we do better? I
Right.
mean,
It's
and again,
unfair to the voter.
right, and I don't want to make any illogical comments saying either Trump or Biden, but I guess what I'm saying is, think about your business. Think about what you do. The prosecutor's office wants to put its best foot forward. As a publication, Mahoning Matters wants to put its best foot forward.
Right.
Downtown, Youngstown, agree with them or don't agree with them, they're trying their best to help out the city. They're trying to put their best foot forward. And when you don't have that confidence, and again, there are merits with both Trump and Biden. I'm not wanting to downgrade both of them, but what I'm sitting here and saying is, if you're not doing the best you can for your public, if it's your clients, if it's your shoppers, if it's your business, if it's the people you deal with at your local nonprofit,
Right.
what are you doing? I mean
Right.
that's just the thing that just
And it
baffles me.
seems like every 4 years, the electric election process is taking a hit in integrity here. Like,
Yeah, and,
is
and
everything above board? I mean, 2016 there was questions on the Democrat side about Trump winning, and then 2020 we got the questions from the Trump side about the Democrats winning, and this year it seems like we're not even going to get to the point of we're going to have two nominees. I mean, look at how hard it is to get these candidates to the starting line now. Never
I think we're going to have nominees. I think the question I have is,
was the process fair.
Well, and if I'm a Democrat, I'm scratching my head, and there's
Right.
conspiracy theories out there going, "Oh, they wanted it to happen this way." I don't think the Democrats wanted it to happen this way, because
No,
right now you're sitting here and
they
saying,
they
"Okay,
looked like if this was a scripted scenario, why is everybody on the Democratic side panicking and failing to come up with any answers?
how would it help?" Yeah, you have to have an answer right now, and if
Right.
you really collectively say, "I'm not sure if Joe Biden's the guy," you have to say, "Okay, this person's the person." You don't have that. And
No.
even for the Democrat and Republican Party, you've already went through a primary season. I mean, if we haven't got to the primary season yet, we can sit here and say, okay, well, at least the primary will figure out if we believe in these candidates or not.
Right.
Right
Well,
now,
we're
both
past
candidates
that
have gotten
now.
the vote. Yeah, both candidates have gotten the votes. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm concerned at the Republican and Democratic Party where they said, look, here is the best we have. Like if you're hiring somebody at your place of business, yeah, you may not always pick the number one exact person you definitely wanted to, but when you present that candidate to be hired to your boss or whatever the case might be, you better darn be certain that you have someone that knows what they're doing is pretty good.
Right. Well, the one thing I know that in the past, you know, couple quadrenniums, the conventions have been bore fest. Well, this year, both conventions,
Oh
I'm going
yeah.
to have my eyeballs from gavel to gavel.
I don't think the Republican Party there's going to be as much of a concern. I tell you, the Donald Trump's credit, and you can raise questions all day on what he's saying is the truth or not. I'll let the voters decide that. Man, I showed my wife that. I said, forget what either one of them is saying. Look at them side by side. They have a split screen, and Trump looked more presidential. You know, I mean, he looked more presidential than Biden did. So I'll be honest. Yeah, there should be some concern saying, should we have a convicted person run? But
Right.
right now, Trump looks like a better candidate. I would be really concerned on the Democratic side. And I don't want to make this attack on Joe Biden. Maybe Joe Biden is the best person to run right now. But if I'm a Democrat and I say, hey, you know, what do we do? As a Democrat, if you're thinking that Donald Trump would be the worst thing for America, then put somebody up that can beat Donald Trump. And
Well,
look at
I
the
kind of
debate.
look at it. I kind of look at it as that, America did lose in that debate because, we didn't really see, we saw for the first time a kind of a restrained Donald Trump. I think the handlers had advised him, okay, this is really Joe Biden's opportunity to lose everything, and which happened. And so they kind of told Trump to kind of cool it a little bit and let the president hang himself with his words, and that's what happened.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting next couple months.
Right, right.
Uh,
The uncertainty in downtown Youngstown, the uncertainty of the election process. So
well,
these are exciting times to live for here.
it'll be interesting to see how it affects people locally. I mean, we've talked a lot about the
Right,
Senate race with Sherrod Brown against Bernie Moreno. Will this even affect locally? I know locally we don't look at Republicans, Democrats as critically, maybe. And when I'm talking about local races, like with
right, right.
mayors and other stuff, but how does this affect people? Time will tell. And like I said, I'm still looking at it from a neutral lens, but I don't know how you're totally happy from the Republican or Democrat side right now. That's the hard thing.
Right.
All right.
And I'm more concerned about America and the future of these elections.
Yeah. No, it's troubling to say the least. All right. Well, Guy, wanted to just point out a couple other big things. Not much to talk about there, but just some other big things in our coverage we'll make sure you're aware of. Kelsey Norris has been doing some good in-depth coverage for us this week. Her most recent piece came out today. Ohio set a record, not the greatest record of all time, but Ohio has had the most tornadoes ever this year,
Wow.
and we're still in July. So Kelsey kind of took a look at the stats, why that's the case, and talked to some people about that. That's our lead story right now with Mahoning Matters. Another big event. I know the Canfield Fair announced its first night of
Entertainment
entertainment
schedule. Yeah.
early, but they actually came up with the second day of entertainment. Hey, if you like old American Idol, Chris Daughtry was the winner one year, and he'll be there on September 2nd with Buck Cherry and Hinder.
That will
Be
be Labor
interesting.
Day, I believe.
Yeah, September 2nd. Interesting. More of a rock flavor with that. I know Canfield Fair's had a lot of country in the past, but they've had some rock too, but definitely a nod to rock with the
Right.
second night this year.
Right.
Listen, what
The
do you think?
rocker I remember being at the fair was John Cougar Mellencamp. I remember being in
Yeah,
the backyard of my son's home in Canfield, about a mile away, and listening to Mellencamp blast away.
yeah. A couple other things real quick. Really building. Obviously, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of questions that have come up. I want to take a moment and salute some of the good things happening there. We raised some questions about what happens to these international towers residents. They're still displaced right now, but the mobile market run through the action group of Youngstown is doing a great job. They brought groceries to them. There's some distributions planned throughout July to help those guys out. Really appreciate the work of the Action Network in Youngstown to help out people in need. And there was something else I wanted to mention. Oh, Pride celebrations. We've had Pride celebrations in Warren. We've had Pride celebration in Youngstown. We're having a Pride celebration coming up later this month in Columbiana County. Our reporter Irina Anwar spoke with one of the participants down there. We have an interview of that got up on the website today. Well, Guy, thank you for your patience. I had a couple of issues behind the scenes I've been trying to do while we're talking, but thank you for your patience and your participation as always. For Guy, this is Chris. Thanks for checking us out. Have a great day, everybody.
Have a good one.